Hello guys, welcome back to another video on Status Forecast Weather Channel. Sorry I spent a few days, I was just taking the weekend off. So in today's video we're going to be talking about the potential for a couple more winter storms. Again, it's not looking like a lot of winter storms, but it's looking like a few, and it could lead to a few more possibly. We're also going to be talking about the potential for a little bit of an Arctic blast behind this. Also, not to mention a severe weather threat that could impact the middle of this week down in the Louisiana through Alabama area. And this could bring the potential for some severe weather, and I'll go over the hazards and specifics of that later in this video. But as of now, we're just dealing with some snow showers across parts of the Central Plains, up into the Great Plains, and across the Great Lakes down through the northeast and parts of New England. We're also dealing with a bunch of lightning over here, a bunch of these, a bunch of showers going on down here, down in the south, across areas of Oklahoma and Arkansas back to Memphis, and if we widen out, it also goes all the way through Alabama. This is going to be our first system that could be producing quite a bit of snow across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and southern New England. But a lot of this lightning over here, we're actually dealing with potentially sleet lightning, which we don't typically see every day, but it's a potential. But this is all going to collect together for a major winter storm across parts of the Mid-Atlantic. It's not really going to affect much of the New England and parts of the, in northeastern New England, but it will kind of, brush by parts of southern New England, especially extreme parts of, New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, and Cape Cod as well. But we're just going to get into the watches, warnings, and advisories right now. Here's the watches, warnings, and advisories that have been issued by the National Weather Service so far. So as of now, we are dealing with a winter weather advisory and winter storm warnings that extend from about the Arkansas area all the way back through parts of southern Missouri, all the way back to the Mid-Atlantic, especially and potentially even through parts of southern Pennsylvania, all the way back to Delaware. We're also dealing with winter storm watches that extend from about the Kansas area all the way back to parts of the Great Lakes region as well, and winter weather advisories in effect for parts of New York and as well as parts of the Great Lakes as well. And you can't really see it, but there is a snow squall watch that is in effect for parts of Quebec, Canada, and it's going to be kind of driving some snow squalls and snow showers across parts of Maine and the Northeast. We also have a freeze watch or warning and winter storm watches as well as some wind advisories and flood watches in effect for parts of California, and a freeze warning in effect for parts of western Oregon. We have wind advisories that are in effect for parts of Arizona, and high wind red flag warnings that are in effect for parts of New Mexico, especially southern New Mexico and southeastern Nevada. Not Nevada, Arizona, sorry. Flood watches and flood warnings are up to the Dixie Alley and parts of the Mississippi area, especially areas across eastern Arkansas, eastern Texas, parts of northeastern Louisiana, and central Mississippi. We also have a flood watch that is in effect for parts of central and east central Tennessee, as well as northwestern parts of Alabama. And sorry, that is northwestern Louisiana. So now we're going to get into I'm just going to go over the severe weather threat real quick so we can get into the future radar. So right now we actually have a severe weather risk for, I believe this is either Wednesday or Thursday. But anyways, either on Wednesday or Thursday, we're dealing with some sort of, I would say more of an elevated scale, looking at some of the models, indicating a more moisture environment and parts, and lots of fuel for these storms along with wind shear. So there's a slight risk of severe weather that extends to about the eastern half of Louisiana, all the way through the south-central parts of Mississippi and far western parts of Alabama. There's also a marginal risk that extends from about the northwestern corner of Florida, all the way back to parts of Alabama, especially western Alabama, up to parts of Alabama, especially south-central and north-central parts of Alabama, and through parts of central and south-central and southern Mississippi, all the way through Texas, especially the far southeastern corner of Texas. And you can see general thunderstorms anywhere from eastern Texas and central Texas all the way back to parts of the Carolinas. For day 6, not sure when this is, but I get a feeling it's either on Saturday or Sunday, there is already a slight risk of severe weather, which is also known as a 15% risk of severe weather, for parts of eastern Texas, Louisiana, all the way back to Mississippi, and parts of Alabama, and far western Georgia, and especially far northwestern Georgia. So here's the future radar. So I have a few things to say. So first off, I'm kind of leaning towards, I want to lean towards the GFS model for a potential winter storm this weekend, but it's just too early to tell. A lot of models are going with the European model, and the GFS model is the only model that is showing a potential mostly snowstorm for the Northeast. I'm having, I want to go with the GFS model, but of course I have to, counter in all of the other models, which a lot of the other models are also going with the European model, but only time will tell. So as of now, again, it's really Tuesday into Wednesday we get some sort of winter storm going on across parts of the South, especially the deep South, and you can obviously see snow happening back through portions of, Iowa, back through parts of Michigan and Minnesota, and snow's happening and starting to fall in parts of Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky, and all the way back to parts of Virginia. As we continue on, this winter storm will quickly gather its gears and quickly move up the eastern seaboard, but get blocked out by two high pressures, which will prevent it from moving any farther north. But a major winter storm is expected for parts of mid-Atlantic, and I did mention parts of the Northeast. That's definitely a potential here, but you'll be on the lighter side of things, especially the lighter snowfall. Heavy snowfall will be falling through Maryland and parts of Virginia. This system will get out of here and things will quiet down before another system goes through. Before we get into the next system, I kind of want to see what kind of snowfall we could be dealing with. So again, I'm not really going to go with any other models. I think all the models have it pretty nailed down for what we could see snow down here, especially as far as radar goes. So this is basically a general idea of what you could see. So there's a general area, a large streak of around, 1 to as much as 10 inches of snow. Most of the snow is going to be falling in parts of Virginia and especially right along the coastline near Maryland. And you will get in on some snow in parts of southern New England, especially in Pennsylvania and parts of, the outer islands of Connecticut and obviously this is offshore, and then the other winter storm's already starting to gather its gears. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But again, I think the largest amount of snowfall is going to be straight from about the central areas of Virginia all the way off coast through Maryland. So as we continue on, that system goes by, then we're going to see another system. This one is the one that could produce some severe weather in the deep south and the potential for a major, snowstorm in parts of the central plains, the Midwest, and up through the Northeast. Now, the difference with the European model is it's trending warmer. So it quickly goes up through the Great Lakes region, and this hasn't trended farther to the south, but the winter storm for this upcoming weekend has trended farther to the south, especially with the European model. Now, hasn't moved, a whole bunch, but it has moved a little bit farther south, which I kind of thought would happen, but I thought it'd move a little bit farther south. But again, severe weather could be, happening to parts of the southeast and the deep south, and then the cold air is going to be ushered in by this, but obviously this is not that strong of a cold front, so we're not going to see a tremendous cool down. But, in parts of the upper plains and back to the northeast, we can definitely see some pretty chilly temperatures out there. So that moves through, and the problem with the European model, I kind of want to zoom in on here, but I'm not going to. We have a little bit of freezing rain that's happening back to parts of New York and back to both parts of Maine, all the way back to parts of New Hampshire and Vermont. Now, this is the problem. The European model has been trending warmer, so it would mean probably that mixed precipitation gets a little bit farther inland. But as we continue on, see that mixed precipitation goes a little bit farther inland and potentially even some rain right along the New coastline. I kind of want to agree with the GFS model on this because I don't really think this is going to happen, but that's why we're going to be looking at two different models. So the level system will go through, and it's probably going to be, a quick, I'm not really sure how much snow, but a quick, moderate to heavy snow throughout, Thursday, and then mixed precipitation will probably drive inland, but I don't think it's going to drive this far inland. I think the European model, again, is trending a little bit too warm. And as you can see, another, I wouldn't say bomb cyclone, but another strong system throughout the western half of the country, producing heavy snowfall in the mountains and heavy rainfall across the coast of California. So this system goes through, and then that's what that is. And I want to go with it, and I also want to show you guys the GFS model. So here's the GFS model. Already you can see it's trending a little bit farther to the south, but again, severe weather threat probably possible for parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and all the way, probably even extending all the way to Georgia, if I were to take a guess. And this continues on. As you can see, it's trending a little bit farther to the south. The European model is a little bit farther to the north and west, but not by a whole lot. But in general, the GFS model thinks cold air is going to be primarily dominant, and then warm air may override the cold air, which will provide probably some, mixed precipitation in the form of like snow speed, freezing rain. I don't see this changing over to rain. I see there's too much cold air in place due to a high pressure in the northeast, especially up in the Canada area, which will be preventing any extremely warm air from getting in the area. And that's basically been the winter storms for the last couple of weeks. Cold air overrides and winds over. So again, here's the GFS model. It wants to keep it pretty much all snow. Again, that mix line may sneak into parts of central New York and central, between all three states, between, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. But as you can see, it's all snow back to Canada, all the way across Maine. But the GFS model thinks there will be a little bit of mixing, especially across southern Maine and mid-coast Maine, and we'll have to watch if that mix line gets into parts of down east Maine. That kind of could cut down the totals, but not a whole lot, because as you know, as you can already see, a lot of the snowfall has already fallen, so there won't be too much precipitation left of it. But it also depends on how far north this area of low pressure tracks. Obviously, you can't really see the area of low pressure because there's no L symbol here, which stands for low pressure. But if it even trends even a little bit farther to the south, 25 miles, this could mean a big difference, and we won't have so much mixing. But as you can see, it looks like it's going to basically just clip parts of down east Maine. So here's the GFS model. Again, areas of low pressure in the southeast will provide probably some severe weather for the south. And as this continues, severe weather will probably outbreak across parts of Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, and all the way back to parts of Georgia and Alabama, Georgia. As you can see, this area of low pressure is already traveling way farther to the south than the GFS model. The GFS model has it all the way up here, and the GFS model has it all the way back here, which I tend to agree with, honestly. So snow could be falling quite heavily at times across the north, less than half of this storm, to parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes region. And then, as you can see, snow will be falling. It'll be like a, quick, heavy snow, and then probably some mixing right along the immediate coastline. So again, the GFS and European model kind of agreeing on this storm, but again, there's so much more uncertainty on the next storm, which will arrive probably this next weekend. So again, the mix line may get a little bit farther inland than previous, but this can definitely change. We're still 2 days out, but things can change. But as you can see, the latest one has brought this area of low pressure in the Gulf of Maine a little bit closer to the coastline, which would probably create some mixing along the coastline. But we're not expecting like a full state mixing event. It's probably just going to be, a pretty much all snow event, and then maybe some rain right along the immediate coastline. So the next one, I'm kind of go with the European model again. I would want to go with the GFS model because the GFS model is showing a snowier solution, or a snowier situation. But, European model and a whole bunch of other models are siding with the European model, so I kind of have to go with the European model for now. But obviously, cold air is a big factor in this next winter storm, besides the one going through Wednesday and Thursday and parts of Friday. But we'll have to see how this plays out. So the GFS model kind of has it forming kind of in the same area as the GFS model, I think. But again, severe weather outbreaks across parts of the southeast and the deep south, probably from about the eastern half of Texas all the way back to parts of Georgia, as this squall line moves through. Now, as it does so, the GFS model is about the same area. However, there's not as much warm air in this system with the GFS model, and you'll see that once I show you the GFS model. But at least moderate to heavy snowfall, light to moderate in periods of heavy snow, all the way from about the Oklahoma area all the way back to parts of New England and the Northeast, especially in parts of New York and all the way back to parts of Maine, or at least New Hampshire. Then it goes. It's not a quick mover. This is a 2-day event, so it really matters where the system sets up, really. So again, moderate to heavy snow falling back through parts of the Canada area, and the heaviest of the snow would probably be falling through parts of New Hampshire and western Maine. That goes through in a heavy snow falling through Maine, but as you can see, this quick changeover as warm air is rising up the eastern seaboard, and this will promote a mixed bag of precipitation. So again, warm air is going up the seaboard, eastern seaboard, and this will change it over to probably a rain for much of the state of Maine. This is the European model, which, again, this is not the kind of storm you want to see in the middle of winter, but again, some of the winters that we have had previously have been trending towards more of these inland storms, inland runners is what you call them, and another squall line into wind events to the northeast. And that's not what you want to see. And this area of low pressure really develops really fast and kind of strengthens significantly as it's crossing Maine, and that goes through. So that's the European model. Now, so if you kind of want more in the way of snow and less in the way of mixed precipitation and rain, you're probably safe bet. Well, I wouldn't say safe bet, but you would want to go with the GFS model. So again, GFS model has this system developing somewhere around the central United States, but has the area of low pressure way down here, which this is not actually the area of low pressure. It's somewhere up here, but you get what I mean. So again, it doesn't have as bold of a severe threat in the southeast, but obviously this can change since this is still 5, 6, even close to 7 days out. But again, it shows snow falling through the northeast and New England, and notice how far south this rain and mix line is compared to the European model and a whole bunch of other models that you may be seeing. The only other model that is trending more to the south, such as the GFS model, is the CFS model. But the CFS model does not do a good idea with high-resolution radar. So that's what that is. So again, the GFS model thinks it's going to stay far to the south, all due to an area of high pressure up here. Again, high pressures are, very important for our winter storms in the northeast, especially these nor'easters. But again, severe weather threat throughout Tennessee and back to parts of, I wouldn't say, but obviously you can see it looks like rain, but on high-resolution radar on models such as the HRRR model and NAM model, this is probably all thunderstorms and showers. So again, thunderstorms could extend all the way back to Mississippi, or Louisiana. Heavy snow falling, high pressure and control would keep this storm just far enough south that this would be an all-snow event. Now a little bit of dry air happening in the central, northeast, and New England while it's snowing in the northeast. We get a little bit of a break before this area will pressure. And remember, and also notice, the GFS model is has a relatively weak system on this, but since it's a longer duration system, probably, I wouldn't say a multi-day event, but 1 to 2 a day event in total, you're probably looking at more of a snowfall event than you would see with a classic nor'easter that only takes about a day and a half to get out. And obviously this is a much weaker system than the European model has, but the European model is also driving it all the way up to here. And the reason why this model has this area of low pressure so weak is because it's still over land. If it was over the coast, or at least offshore, this would probably be more of a stronger system, but unfortunately that's not the way it's looking with the GFS model. So the GFS model, again, wants to basically, take a route right through the I-95 corridor and heavy snow falling on the backside of this with the system, and this would probably be a pretty big snowstorm for parts of coastal New England and the northeast, and this system goes out of here, and it's a long duration event, which means it takes at least another half a day to get through light snow still falling in parts of eastern Maine, and then it's finally out of here by Tuesday. So here's another model for this particular weather event through Saturday and Sunday. This is the GTPS model. The GTPS model is also starting with the European model, as you can see. Driving a little bit more warm air inland, only it's enough cold air that it is basically a sleet and freezing rain mixture for parts of southern New England and southern Maine, or at least parts of Maine. So this would also go with the European model. Obviously, this area of low pressure is a little bit farther to the south, which would create a little bit more colder air, but it does have a little bit of a stronger system. Well, not a much stronger, but you get the general idea. And then it basically bomb cyclone. Here's another model, the ICON model. This model is also taking a trend towards the European model. So again, it's a little bit more of a snow and mixed bag, and then a little bit of rain right along the coastline, but it looks like a big freezing rain event for the northeast, especially with the ICON model. Here's the CFS model. Again, the CFS model, it doesn't look all that fancy. It doesn't have anything really fancy with it. But again, this isn't. I basically look for the track of the low pressure systems, because then you basically know where the cold air and the warm air would, divide itself. So the CFS model, again, is going to go a lot faster. Just keep that in mind. But it goes through quickly. And it also has a little bit of a system that's kind of, a little bit farther back. And has this thing all the way back in Saturday, and it takes until Monday to reach the Northeast. But again, the CFS model, a little bit farther to the south. Not by much, but a little bit. It's kind of in line with the DFS model. So it's not that much snow, but that's what that looks like. Here's another idea. Here's the United Kingdom model, also known as the UKMET. The UK model. Again, the UK model also kind of siding with more of a southerly track. And I kind of like the way this one's tracking even a little bit more, because it's kind of right in the middle of the GFS and the European model. Again, I would suggest, I would say this one is right in the middle of both models. So again, I think it does a pretty good idea. So again, severe weather threat for the deep south, obviously. But again, it has the track a little bit farther to the south. So with this being said, widespread snow throughout, extending from the southern New England and northeast all the way back to parts of Oklahoma, especially northeastern Oklahoma. But notice where it has that snow line, and then it's kind of a quick moving system, and it kind of, kind of has it all in one storm rather than in two-day event, honestly. So, again, we'll just have to weigh how things play out. And it also has a weaker system along with the GFS model. Again, a stronger system means stronger winds and potentially even more intense snow rates. But again, things definitely will change. But it definitely is trying to take the same track as the GFS model, in my opinion. So here's the year total. This is for the storm number 1 and storm number 2 again. Wednesday to Thursday, and Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. So again, and then we'll go through more in the future, but I just want to go through this first. So again, atmospheric rivers conditions bring in more areas of low pressure, some stronger than others. Will bring, heavy amounts of snow to the California mountains, feet of snow. And that's basically been the case all this year. Except for parts of, other parts of California. Major snowfall amounts for the Pacific Northwest, and then again, solid 5 to 10 inches for parts of the areas across parts of the Mid-Atlantic, and then obviously that secondary storm bringing a solid 5 to as much as, closer to 2 feet of snow in a widespread area, extending from about the areas of, central plains, such as, South Dakota, or whatever state that is, and parts of Kansas, and this extends all the way up to Canada. Here's the GFS model. Again, turning a little bit farther to the south, not by much, but a little bit. This would promote more in the way of snow for the Northeast especially. So again, lots of snow for the California mountains, several feet obviously. 1 to 2 feet in general for parts of the Pacific Northwest, especially those mountain areas. And Northeast getting on a beneficial snowfall from, 2 of those storms, hitting them at once. So this technically be the third storm actually. So again, a little bit farther to the south of the track, so this extends from about the Kansas area all the way back to the Northeast, and basically going through parts of New Brunswick, Canada, or that area over there, Nova Scotia, Canada. And then the secondary storm, or the first storm in general, around a solid 7 to as much as closer to 2 feet of snow in the Mid-Atlantic. So as far as the severe weather goes, it's a little bit too early to tell what's actually going to happen, so we're going to have to wait until at least tomorrow to give an update on this, because then we'll have more data, and the weather models will be a little bit more in the future, so we can actually see what's going on. But as of now, the SPC, also known as the Storm Prediction Center, has a slight risk of severe weather basically in central and southern Mississippi, back to Alabama and Louisiana. And obviously that marginal risk extends from about the areas of northwestern Florida, Georgia, all the way back to parts of Texas. And then obviously the next severe weather threat, this is probably for Saturday, the Saturday event, 15% risk or slight risk of severe weather already in place for basically, the same area only. Obviously, things can change, but Georgia, northwestern Florida, basically covering states, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. Alright, so going beyond that, when things, it's harder to predict what actually happens. So again, behind this cold front, the Erie Canal has a sharp, cold snap right through the Northeast, really in the heart of, the cold air kind of places right in the middle of the Great Lakes region, and especially parts of Canada and Northeast and parts of Mid-Atlantic, and even down into parts of the, I wouldn't say extreme southeastern United States, but the cold air does reach into parts of Tennessee at least. And after this system goes by, maybe another system develops again. This is going way beyond forecast. This is the 19th. the European model indicating that some sort of winter storm that may bomb out starts in the southeast with maybe a little bit of sea weather threat. This is too far out to tell. And then it kind of goes up the eastern seaboard, and for some reason it just curls off because of high pressure systems. But it bombs out right there and kind of goes by, and then things become, way more uncertain as we go from there. Hard to predict. Here's the GFS model again. GFS model also indicating at an Arctic blast right through the heart of the Northeast, directly after the winter storm potentially this weekend goes through. And also the GFS model hinting at potentially another winter storm that doesn't really make it far out because high pressure is in control. This would be throughout the 20th and 21st. A trend that I've been seeing lately, especially farther in the future, is these other winter storms. And this is, a good sign that winter is not over, but it's also a bad sign that winter may be having a little bit slower effect, a little bit slower of returning to spring. But again, this is way far out. We have no idea what's actually going to happen. And as we continue, another system kind of pushing way out through the 25th, circles off the northeast coastline, and that's really that. And then maybe another little system going through parts of the Mid-Atlantic. This is through the 26th, but again, way too early to tell. Next, look at its temperatures. Temperatures, I'm sure we're breaking some record in the south, but obviously, more Arctic blast could be on the way. So here's the European model. So again, colder air after the first system goes through, kind of behind that. And then the Thursday event kind of pushes more cold air in behind there in the northeast. Then through Saturday and Sunday, that warm air, I don't think it's really going to get that warm, like 50s in southern New England. I highly doubt that's going to happen. And that cold air kind of builds back in with a major Arctic blast for the northeast and back to the upper plains and Midwest and Great Lakes region. And then from there on, again, cold air wants to, kind of win over. Winter does not want to let up. Here's the GFS model. So again, first system goes through, doesn't really have a huge effect, but Thursday will have a huge effect. We'll push in more cold air in parts of the northeast and upper plains. First and second system goes through, and then boom, Arctic blast right through the 18th, and stays cold there, and winter looks like it does not want to let up anytime soon. Before we end the video, here's to take a look at what kind of, rainfall we could be seeing. Again, southeast probably going to get slammed by rainfall. Some areas picking up as high as near 10 inches of rain in parts of Tennessee and the southeast. And, everybody gets on a general, good soaking rain. And only spots, again, have been pretty much the entire story. Parts of southwestern parts of Arizona and southern New Mexico. European model, much of the same thing. Lots of rainfall for the southeast, tons of rainfall for California from those fires. This will be very helpful for them. Pacific Northwest and pretty much the entire country gets on rainfall except for parts of far western Texas and southeastern parts of at least, New Mexico. That's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Lots of winter storms to be coming. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. And stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you.